David here. We've got Carla here.
Hey, Carla.
We have Alicia here, and Alicia and David are teaching the classes that are hosting the BFA Conversations. I'm the chair of the painting program. My name's Linda Geary, and we're thrilled. This is a special event because we have our famous alum, Gregory Rick, back to be the respondent for the students here, and we can give him a quick applause. And I'm going to read. Oh, sorry, what? Yeah. Hi, you guys.
Do I have to go to?
It was a background sound.
Oh, I'm going to read Greg's bio really quick as you guys are starting to kind of, assemble into the Zoom room. Gregory Rick was born in 1981 and grew up in South Minneapolis, Minnesota. He received his BFA from CCA in 2019 and graduated from Stanford with an MFA in art practice in 2022. Developing a historical imagination and fondness for drawing stories, Rick collapses history while confronting personal trauma. His works exist as reflections of his personal experience while in dialogue with the wider world. Rick has received the Combat Infantry Badge, the Yamaguchi Printmaking Award, the Nathan Oliveira Fellowship, and the Jack Kay and Gertrude Murphy Award, and is exhibited in museums and galleries throughout the United States. His work comes from his personal experience, but it is not entirely personal. Where myth gives voice to the underbelly, the lumpen in tandem displaying the familiar and grandiose. His work tethers together seemingly opposite ideas as he tethers between the personal, the historical, and the political. He paints on a shaky historical line, cemented in humility and conviction, and occupies his pictures with characters who serve as archetypes in conjunction with memory and self-exploration, reflecting on the absurdness and monumentality of history. Please join me in welcoming Gregory Rick as our respondent today. Yay. Hi, everyone. Welcome, John Jenkins. Great to see you. If you guys can, I'm gonna gently nudge you guys to turn on your videos if you can, just so we can see faces, at least at the beginning. So for those of you who just came in, the sequence is going to be Gray, then Sophia, then Trisha, Reese, and Enya. And we can get started now. Gray, are you ready? Is Gray here?
No, Gray is not here.
Okay.
We can move to second student, and then I will email him right now.
And I know he has the link because I sent it to him yesterday, but also, okay. Sophia? I don't see Sophia.
I'm here.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, you're next. You ready? Okay. You can start whenever. Okay, good. And also, let me just say, just to start out, before you start, Sophia. So each student's going to have about 10 minutes to present, and then Greg will respond within a 5-minute or less window, and then we'll go on to the next person. So, and I'm going to loosely keep time. Okay, go ahead, Sophia.
Hi, my name is Sophia, and I'm in painting and drawing major. I was born in San Francisco, but moved to Korea right away. So I studied in Korea before I came to CCA. When I was in high school, I visited San Francisco and I enjoyed staying here. So I decided to study in SF. One of the reasons that I choose to do art is my parents. My mother was illustrator and my father was architect. So they influenced me to do art. And these are my self-portrait. The first painting I got inspired by Dana shoots. I used different bright color on my face to show the dark and lighting part. I focuses on the color on the face more and the face to emphasize more. And the next one I collect the next portrait I collect all the water bottle cap and stick them to the cardboard. I usually drink water in plastic bottles, but I thought I would use it someday if I collect it instead of throwing all of them. And I decided to use it in my self-portrait. I painted my face on bottle cap with acrylic paint to give a three-dimensional effect and give a pattern by using bottle cap. And my current body of work celebrates the element of ritual, getting ready for a performance of eating. I enjoy taking photographs of food. Then I eat and translate them into a simplified painting. I enjoy using texture and pattern, and my paint of choice is acrylic and watercolor, but I also enjoy experimentation. But my work is brightened with yellow and green paint to catch the eye and bring attention to chosen part of my painting. Mixing and finding color help my work too. And I usually paint abstract art with acrylic paint on canvas. These are photos that are on my phone. I take most of the time taking picture of food, nature, and object. I usually go hiking or play golf when I'm in Korea with my friends and family. I always take a lot of picture around me when I go out. And because we usually have dinner outside, there were more pictures that I thought. By using them, I do abstract art with food photos and use different material like collages to do landscape painting. I decided to use the photo that I took in my painting because I want to translate my memories into art. The picture is enough way to show the past memory, but I thought that if I express the painting, it can remain better memory. And then this is collage art. I have been to Japan when I was in middle school. I completely forgot about this trip and I found the photo when we moved out to another place. And this was the only picture left. And I expressed this artwork with magazine and poster. And I was satisfied that it was expressed well as I wanted. And this is San Francisco Street. I also started this work by looking at the picture that I took when I visited San Francisco. And I did this collage work when I was doing online class during COVID. I always paint the place when I'm somewhere else, not that country. And this is dressing table in my house in Korea. I painted my dressing table because I wanted to capture my favorite place with the painting. Since it's a dressing table, I use cosmetic to express my work. I use lipstick, foundation, blusher, and other cosmetic material to complete the work. It was hard at first because it was not the art material, but I enjoy it a lot. And for this work, I did not see the photo that I took. It was just from my memory. And this is a landscape of the photo that I took when I went to hiking and play golf. I used watercolor, and when I did this work, I did in my imagination, choosing colors and water dripping. It was half imagination and half looking at. And this is a bigger scale of landscape painting. The painting expressed better than when I did it in a smaller scale. This painting is when I started to paint food. The left painting is an abstract of hamburger, and the right painting is a bagel. I use acrylic paint, and I abstract one specific food photo and painted it on the canvas. It may look like food, but in other way, I thought it can look like a landscape or an object. So I think that makes the painting more interesting. And I decided, after making abstract paint of hamburger and bagel, I wanted to make a series of food painting. So I started this series of food painting. I chose all different photos of food and abstract each of them. I used acrylic paint and used magazine to show more details in the decoration part of food and the background. And I decided to change the concept to make it more interesting in my painting. I use 12 by 12 inches of canvas. It's one piece of food painting, but I arranged it randomly because it seems to be different. Each canvas have different feeling and can be an individual piece of work. And then this painting I did next painting. It is a 10 by 10 inches. When I paint this food series, I usually try to paint the food that I ate long time ago, and then the food that I ate when I was in Korea. So I think the memories are more captured when I paint them in here in SF. This is the most recent food painting that I did. Last time I used 9 canvas of food painting, but this time I use only 4 canvas, but in bigger scale. When I go back to Korea after graduation, I will continue to paint the food and street that I took photo in SF. Also, I'm planning to do more bigger scale than this painting. For this work, I remake my abstract hamburger painting with charcoal into big painting. I don't use charcoal a lot in my painting, so it was something new to me, which I enjoy a lot. Since this piece is big, I use my body to paint this, and it is interesting because the texture of the wall come out to my work. And they both are the same painting, but it shows differently because a bit different by using different material and scale. This is my last piece. I use watercolor. It is red abstract art of rope. I took a photo of rope that was in storage and translate into painting. I use a different color to show the lighting of the rope that was in the storage. And mostly I painted food. So this piece also looked like food painting, like pasta. So it is really connects to my painting. And this is my last.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you,
Linda.
that was great. You can, if you want to not share your screen, you know, if you can unshare your screen. Nice job.
Thanks, Sophia. Those were awesome works. I was noticing like there's like this collection of food images and kind of this kind of categorizing of food or developing this kind of database of all these pictures of food, and I appreciate how you kind of, I guess, go about recreating images, if that's by kind of cropping in or, you know, different ways of abstracting these images of food. I really found myself drawn to three works in particular: the portrait of the self-portrait on the bottle caps, and also the Osaka collage, and this kind of mixed media piece that was a street in San Francisco. And I feel like these works kind of are like stacking all these kind of ways of working with memory, but also working within collections, kind of repurposing a collection of something like a bottle cap and turning that into a piece of you know, a unique piece of art. And I feel like there's something really exciting about that, like, you know, how you can change, you know, the purpose of things. Like you change like the lipstick from you know, making up one's face to like creating a kind of still life of the lipstick, which I felt was really interesting. But yeah, I think just these like ways of working where the parameters are kind of taken off and you're kind of taking these things that are materials from a specific thing, like bottle caps that you save, you know, so you're not throwing them away, for instance, and kind of painting a portrait of yourself. It just, to me, it seems like this really kind of poignant stance of, you know, I'm not going to throw this away, but, you know, I'm here within, you know, this culture of maybe mass consumption, for lack of a better word. And it's kind of almost like making a stand to create art. So I think there's like so many possibilities, and it seems like you just want to make bigger, more work, and continue to move forward. I just maybe implore you to, you know, maybe try to like have maybe ways that these different kind of practices of, or ways of creating works can bump into each other, and kind of you know, I guess just developing through if that's like play or just, you know, what have you, just working on different things to kind of put all these kind of ways of working into like maybe a way of making, you know, a new body of work, you know, that stands upon, you know, these memories and these collections of photos and And yeah, I feel like they got really interesting when it was starting to add some of these different elements like collage elements and whatnot.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. We're gonna move on to Grey Day next.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sophia.
Hi, everyone. I just want to start by saying that I'm really honored to be here and to have this opportunity to earn a degree from CCA in painting, and really honored to have Gregory Rick here as our discussant. And I've been looking forward to this for weeks. I apologize for, I checked out a laptop from the media center, but it didn't work. And someone here at 80 Carolina graciously lent me their laptop, and I made it. But I don't know how to use this one. So I'm going to share my screen and start. Oh, wait a minute. Let me get over to this. Okay. I think I know how to do this. Did I? Oh. Sorry. First time on this computer. Okay. Is that readable?
No, we don't see anything yet.
Interesting. No?
No,
Do you see this?
no.
Nothing. Okay. Let me go back to share screen. Share screen. Desktop. Share. Now you can see
There we
stuff.
go.
Oh, good. Thank
Great.
goodness. Sorry about that. This is someone else's computer. Okay. So, oops. That's not it. Wow, it's complicated. Oh, I see what happened. Okay, good grief. Okay, you can see that?
Yep,
Oh, great. Okay.
great.
So now I don't know how to go to the next slide. Oh, I guess that's it. Okay. My
Great.
name is Grey Day. I am a gender and culturally queer, politically radical artist living and working in San Francisco. I also have a long and storied history in Provincetown and Fire Island. I've made 2D work from my earliest memories, often illustrating stories I made up. Throughout the years, I have also explored performance, conceptual, spatial, and text arts, as well as writing. But my primary practice is painting. Since 2008, I have been especially interested in the male figure and male identities and how they present and perform within the diversities of contemporary life. I've always maintained a deep interest in ancient histories, visionary futures, and inquiries into consciousness and the human psyche. I am particularly intrigued by the idea of interconnectedness and how we experience that. So we had some prompts, and it suggested we show some work from the past. So in 2008 is really when I made a commitment to the male figure. And it was a first gallery show in Provincetown. And this is 2008. And the police officer was 24 by 18. And then within 2 years, I had jumped up to 48 by 36. And these are oil on canvas. And then they started to get a little more complex with more environment included to give more narrative context to the story of the individual. So 48 by 36 again. And then I thought I would just rifle through some influences and then just add some verbally, because a lot of my references are in clusters, but I only used one example. But, you know, growing up non-binary and genderqueer, and not having any language for that or any sort of external support, or even um, even references, whether it was at school, elementary school, at home, being raised as boys and girls, and also, you know, being gay in orientation, non-binary in expression. There just wasn't any language or any support. And I was raised in a rather conservative and conventional hegemony of heteronormativity and, you know, Christian hegemony. And I would see images in, you know, accepted and celebrated American culture, and I would just see something like these plumbers, you know, at a very young age, I would see these and think, wow, adult men playing with perfume and makeup. And, you know, something was registering there. And then, of course, J.C. Leyendecker has amazing coded homoerotic imagery, even in a heterogeneous environment where there's men and women. He would have these very homoerotic subtexts. You know, and I mean, this is from 1928, so it's very loaded too, with just issues of colonialism and competitive sports and all of that. And then I gravitated, as I got older, I gravitated to sort of the Alex Katz and Barclay Hendricks kind of very graphic images of male identity. But I also had a traditional element of training where I pursued technical knowledge through workshops and atelier environments. And in a sort of American Impressionism style, I was introduced to some of the greats like Sargent, Soroya. Can't think of his name right now, from Sweden. Anders Zorn, sorry. And everyone knows Zorn from the Zorn palette, but Zorn palette's kind of a myth, but I digress. So I was being exposed to a lot of these great figurative artists, but I was noticing subtext again. You know, I was noticing the sailors in the corner. I was noticing which direction the sailor with his back to us is looking, and how that's highlighted on the sailor to his right. And, you know, they were starting to correlate with experiences I had of navigating the world and finding companionship. And, you know, there's a lot of conversation now around the homoeroticism of John Singer Sargent. So the paintings I showed of Vine just before these reference paintings were trying to look at the figure in that way, like in the more of an impressionist and more traditional way. And then since coming to art school, a lot of my focus has shifted, and who I'm looking at and how compositions are made and how content is included, both overtly and more quietly through the inclusion of signifiers and subject matter. And I really enjoyed researching Carrie James Marshall, Just really a self-made painter, even though, you know, he has that Otis College education and background. It's just the way he made his own way towards Otis in spite of his background and obstacles that he faced financially and socially, and then becoming this phenomenal decades career painter of so many issues and so beautifully done, and really looking at compositional elements and flatness and perspective and color. And then I've always had a fondness for Alice Neal. I always felt like she was sort of a contemporary Van Gogh in her ability to paint directly. But Alice Neal also very much, you know, a lot of New York painters didn't think like, am I allowed to paint this subject or this person or that race? They were painting New Yorkers. And so along with Alice Neal, I think of painters like Bert Silverman, Harvey Dinnerstein from the Art Students League in Manhattan, who were just painting New Yorkers. You know, these are their neighbors. And that's what I aspire to as well. I'm going to try to move along now. Also looking a lot at Jordan Castile. This isn't a sort of an earlier painting of hers because her career is still quite young, but I just love the rhythms in this one. And I love it that it's just a close intimacy of friends. I like the little identifying personality things of like the saxophone. And then of course, Kehinde Wiley's been an influence for a while now, and this is also an earlier painting compared to the really grandiose work he's producing now. But in particular, I've been watching how Kehinde represents male affection and even male intimacy and romance. So really huge influence. So just before returning to school in the spring of 2022, I was doing work like this, 20 by 16. And then during the pandemic, I needed to learn water-based mediums. So 2021, I've got acrylic on canvas. These are people I know. The previous one is a local DJ that I worked with for many years. Harry, in this painting, Harry and I share a mutual friend, and that's how I got to know Harry. This is a lifelong friend of mine from New York, Christian. Christian, way back in the 80s, was actually on the Sally Jesse Raphael show as a junior high school transgender, non-binary student from Long Island. So turning to my thesis and wrapping up a little bit is from my senior thesis. I returned to larger canvases and made a decision from the start of my senior year to follow the guidance of my painting professors. I wanted to make bold new work that would expand my approach to painting. At that time, I had an opportunity to create a portrait of a community that I had come to know through my patronage of Hef's Barbershop that's on Monterey Ave in San Francisco. This was important because it gave me an opportunity to attempt compositions with multiple figures.
Hey, Greg, sorry to interrupt, but you have like half a minute left.
Oh gosh, okay.
Yeah.
So last semester I created this 48 by 772 acrylic and oil. And then this semester, those are a couple of details. This semester, I created this one. The code is 415, also acrylic and oil. Couple of details. So I'll be entering the 3-year MFA program at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign in the fall of 2023. I do have a pop-up show in San Francisco, June 30th. And I'd like to take this moment to thank everyone who took this time to view my senior presentation today. I would like to thank Gregory Rick for generously giving of his time to be our discussant. Your life experience and artistic journey has much to offer us as newly graduating students in today's changing world. And your fellowship as a CCA alum makes your observations all the more meaningful for us. I would like to thank all of my professors at CCA, but especially Kim Ano, David Huffman, and Brian Keith Thomas. You've taken my painting practice to the next level. And finally, I would like to extend the deepest gratitude to my sister and fellow artist, Luann E. Witkowski. You have been my believing mirror since I can remember, and you have supported me through all the hard as well as good times. Without you, I would have never come this far. I love you. That's it.
Thank you, Gray.
Thank
So
you.
great to see your work.
Thank you, Gray.
Thanks, Gray.
Good to see you again. Great to see your work. I kind of wish you would have played a little bit more of your work leading up to the, but it was really nice to see all these great artists that inspired you, and I can see a lot of like things you gained from these artists. I feel like there's a certain, maybe you have something akin to a lot of these artists that you're kind of referencing, or that you've noticed. I think of like Kerry James Marshall, or kind of Kerry James Marshall asserting himself, and kind of African Americans as well, like bringing that into the museum, where he didn't see himself in the museum, so he kind of asserted himself in the museum. And it seems like there's something like inherently brave about that, and maybe radical in a way, at least in this kind of museum space, and kind of growing up without seeing yourself in popular culture. And kind of I really like when you talked about kind of this deep looking, to look beyond the surface at maybe moments in a painting that relates to something that was more akin to your experience, or what you're experiencing. Yeah, I feel like there's something in the newer paintings that maybe wasn't there in the earlier paintings, and this kind of relationship between figures. A lot of them seem to be singular portraiture, but now I feel like you're like moved beyond portraiture to kind of like more narrative paintings, and I see like a relationship between all these figures, like the painting with the car, and these kind of circular compositions that I feel like are much more that fall into, and I start placing narratives on these people, and I just applaud your kind of working with a lot of things. When we're born, it's just kind of like a roll of the dice. We don't really get to pick where we're born, but I mean you kind of roll with that, and was able to find like moments within these paintings. Even Norman F. and Rockwell, you found like these kind of tender moments, right? Within these Norman Rockwell paintings. So it's like, I guess you arrived now, you graduated, and it's like now you're like the controller of culture as a visual artist, and it like where, so I guess something to maybe think about, like how far can you push it, and maybe it's not fair, but when we come from the margins, we become like ambassadors, I guess, for the people that we're coming from, so yeah, I just feel like you have like developed all these tools, and completed these very nice paintings, and they're going to this very exciting place of narrative painting, and this tradition of figurative painting, and this tradition of um, um, or kind of this moment now where a lot of things are being rethought, you know, and a lot of what was banned or taboo has you know, I feel like there's a little place. So like, you know, I would just not, I mean, I'm sure you're already doing it, but like what is super unique to you and your experience, and like how can you like project that in a painting space? Yeah. I guess there was something like a note that I jotted down about the celluloid closet. Have you ever seen this documentary? I was just thinking about that a lot when you were showing these kind of you know, showing these like kind of hidden gems within some of these master paintings you showed. But yeah, I just, you know, applaud you and all your hard work, and you know, yeah. Um, do you have any questions for me?
Thanks. We have to move on, Greg. I'm gonna cut you guys off.
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have Trisha Trotter.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hey, Trisha.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. So I'm Trisha. I grew up in a small town in central Oklahoma. I grew up poor and knew that the military would be my fastest way out of Oklahoma, so I decided to join the Navy right out of high school. While I was stationed in Lemoore, California, I decided to start living a vegan lifestyle, which led me to animal rights activism. When I separated from the Navy, I moved to the Bay Area to become more active with Direct Action Everywhere, an animal rights organization based in Berkeley. Shortly after moving here, I started attending Berkeley City College with plans to major in sociology, but a deep exploration of self led me back to art, something that I had abandoned when I joined the Navy. So someone who inspires me and most things that I do is Crystal Todd, my grandmother. Throughout my childhood, she was a safe place for me among all the chaos. As a young woman, she enjoyed painting, but spent her whole life taking care of others, including 5 children, and was unable to pursue any of her own passions. For her and for myself, I'm committing my life to doing what feels true to me rather than what is expected of me. Some vital pieces of my being that keep me grounded are solitude, spending time outdoors almost daily, as well as listening to music. I find that spending time in solitude gives me the opportunity and almost forces me to think about uncomfortable yet necessary things. Spending time in nature helps me feel connected to myself when the chaos of society starts to drain me. A couple of artists that inspire me visually are Lenora Carrington and Remedios Vero. Okay, so this is my work, and when I first started off at CCA, I felt a drive to want to create, but felt myself falling into unhelpful expectations of wanting to fit a visual aesthetic and seeking outside validation rather than using the tools that I already have, which of course is a valid way to make art, but for me, something felt off and I felt stuck. But with the help of my professors, I quickly decided to start making work about my life experiences. I started working with charcoal and pastels because they felt natural to me and allowed me to use my hands directly. Working on large surfaces allow me to be physical with my work using my whole body. I work quickly, not to meet a deadline, but to release a surge of energy that needs to come out onto the surface. When I allow myself to work intuitively is when I find that I've created the most successful pieces. Talking about mental illness comes with a lot of shame, and starting at an early age and all throughout my life, I've experienced a significant amount of trauma. Like many people, as a child, I experienced things that no child should have to, and this forced me to retreat into myself. As a way of coping with the realities of life, I would escape into books, dissociation, and elaborate fantasies. During most of my time at CCA, I was in therapy. The skills that I learned and techniques that we use is very much reflected in these two pieces. This represents me being the adult that I needed during a traumatic event that happened when I was a child. I show myself taking my child self out of the situation that I shouldn't have been in. Okay, talking about mental illness comes with a lot of shame, and being diagnosed with any mental illness comes with an overwhelming amount of stigma. I want to push past that shame and allow myself to express freely. Through the work that I make, I'm discovering significant memories and pieces to my PTSD that I have pushed from my mind. Not only am I making drawings about myself, but my family's collective trauma as well. With each hardship and difficult experience that happens to one of us, it ripples throughout the family and onto future generations. My practice has allowed me to process what I've experienced and use my art as a source of healing. With my work, I want to create a space not only for myself, but for the viewer as well. A space of safety, free of shame, to dive deep into the things that we suppress daily. At times in my work, I can be very direct, but each piece contains a heavy amount of symbolism and exists outside of reality. Although it isn't easy, I'm an advocate for vulnerability, openness, and I want to normalize talking about uncomfortable but necessary things. I think that these are vital pieces to moving forward and living a life that is true to oneself. At the beginning of last year, I started exploring the addition of sound to my drawings. I began messing with multi-effects pedals and keyboard in order to create a soundscape that would bring another level to the world that I am creating, or even on its own serve as a key to somewhere, a place deep in the subconscious that needs to be explored. So this is my senior exhibition that was just up at Soma Arts, and here is the sound piece that I created in the space the day before the opening. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
So that's it. I'll be applying to grad school in the fall, and in the meantime, I plan to travel, expand my practice, and gain new life experiences to feed my art. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trisha. That was beautiful.
Hi, Trisha. Thanks for sharing your work with me. I feel like we have some similarities, I guess, within our lives, that I was in the military as well. And I as well kind of got back into art, as kind of a cathartic practice of kind of dealing with, I guess, things from when I was young, or things that happened in the army, or and yeah, I found this is a really kind of nice exercise of just having a sketchbook where I would just draw things that would bother me, and then kind of put it on the shelf until next time. And yeah, I did that in the community with, in kind of the veterans community at the VA. Yeah, I was really moved by this taking myself somewhere safe piece. And I thought it was huge, and then I kind of got like a picture of the headphones for scale, and I was just thinking about how powerful kind of this intergenerational kind of saving of oneself is just kind of a very powerful piece. Yeah, and I also like the fragility of, or the malleability maybe, of some of these kind of materials that you're using to kind of represent these specific traumas, or kind of meditations on these specific traumas, like the charcoal and kind of these limited palettes. Were all very nice. I feel like all the work kind of has like this kind of existential edge, even if it's not necessarily talking about one's own personal trauma, just that it kind of has this edge, that's this kind of sobering edge, that I kind of applaud. That, oh, it's serious, this is serious work. I feel like the soundscape kind of position the piece, or frame the pieces in your senior show really well. And it's almost like you're putting a duration of time to a visual piece that I feel like maybe kind of kind of cuts out any distraction for the viewer, and kind of really frames them for that moment, at least that 2 minutes while the soundscape is happening, to really be engaged with that piece. And I thought that was a good move too. And yeah, I just I feel like there's a certain fear, or it's a certain like standing up in these pieces. In my own artist statement, I mentioned trauma, but like thinking about a traumatic memory, or thinking about a traumatic incident happening as almost like an initiation into something else, and kind of the gift of art as a means of kind of having this very accessible, cathartic space, or outlet to work. Yeah, I really like these pieces in general. The one with the tornado in the tiny house is just something really interesting happening with scale in a lot of the pieces. And I like a lot of like these kind of open spaces, kind of really gives the work kind of like I guess different like entry points, but nothing so like loaded, that there's moments to like think and reflect and to breathe within the work. So yeah, just yeah, as far as grad school, I I guess my only suggestion would be that you're all individuals with unique experiences, and just to let those unique experiences shine in your application. And that's what I think people reading them will gravitate towards, and that's what will kind of amplify you in the kind of the race to get in to whatever grad school. But thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg. Next up, we have Reese Wallace.
Hi. All right. Let's hope I timed this right. Let's see. All right. Hi, my name is Reese Wallace. I was born in Lemoore, California, but I grew up in Salt Lake City. We moved there to be closer to the cattle ranch my family owned in rural East Utah. We lost the ranch to family feud involving money, but the imagery always stuck with me. My work combines classical oil painting and drawing practices with non-traditional substrates. It kind of creates a tension between subject and material. Visually, my work is kind of informed by like rural Americana and I appropriate like religious iconography along with it. Interested in talking about the performance of self-destructive modes of masculinity and the intersectionality with climate change and capitalism. These are kind of like a mix of like early works and some stuff that like still pops up recently. The photos on the left, this is my grandfather on the ranch, and this is the ranch house and is Roosevelt, Utah. So I still draw really strongly from that visual base. My artistic influences, kind of like gray, like I pull from like Norman Rockwell and Singer Sargent and people like that. Like I think like I was interested in kind of like the subtle depictions of homoeroticism and like male figures. But Ichabod Crane, this painting specifically, I had exposure to it because when I was a kid, one of the schools owned it. They had from an art fair. They just kind of acquired it, and it always left a huge impression on me. I was really interested in, I'm like really interested in kind of like Dadaist attitudes. Jack Johnson versus Arthur Craven is one of my favorite performances ever. Jack Johnson being first Black heavyweight ever. And then Arthur Craven, just kind of a bum rider, cousin of Oscar Wilde, lucked into a French heavyweight championship with them and turned it into performance. I love that attitude in art. Agnes Martin is a really important like visual influence on me, like subdued, meditative, reflective paintings and the use of like white space and patterning. And then I'm really informed by like old American literature, kind of in the way that it's like subversive to what I'd like expected it to be in some ways. Grapes and Wrath and Jungle are both kind of I don't know, almost like socialist idealization things. Like I was which I'm interested in. I spent time as a union steward in the cannabis industry, so things like The Jungle really spoke to me, and same thing with Grapes of Wrath. And then I guess I'll kind of start talking about my work. So one of the things I was interested in with CCA in particular, past like traditional painting things, was like kind of the interdisciplinary works and my exposure to like different materials and ways of working. So Thank You for Smoking is kind of like a metaphor for like performative like martyrdom for like masculinity, like fetishizing like dying early because you don't take care of yourself kind of things. Like, and that's kind of like a lot of what I was exposed to when I was younger on the ranch. Like all my uncles and like grandpas and like father figures were kind of like old cowboy types, and they all had this mode. And a lot of them don't live real long. And this is Pieces of a Deer, which is taxidermy, plaster, gold, and twine. This is kind of like in process piece. It's loosely based on at least the process of the film, the 5 obstructions. So first, like, I annexed the piece, which was a piece of taxidermy. I brought it into the studio, and I kind of thought like Dadaism and like ready-mades in that way. Then I literally cut it, then I transfigured it, then I subverted it, and then finally I subjected it to like a gallery setting. And the ideas behind it is kind of like a confrontation with the violent dismantling of our nature and commodification of its pieces. It's yeah, that pretty much sums it up. But at the same time I was doing this, I had kind of started doing like journaling, memoir writing, and like memory mining things, which kind of led me again back to like Roosevelt and like that original base, which eventually led me to these, which formally the pieces are in conversation with like how we value scale in painting and drawing. Large paper demands attention, but the small subject asks you to be intimate and close with it. The on Roosevelt pieces, conceptually, the pieces are tied to like memory. They are like specific, ephemeral, like and completely removed from like their original context. They're hung high so that your eyes and chin roll upwards, which is kind of like the physical thing we do when we're trying to remember things. And then this is a newer one, an advanced apology for future Red Riders, kind of reflecting on early exposure to firearms when I was a kid. Like, it was a kind of a common utility experience. We first learned to shoot prairie dogs because they were killing the horses, but it eventually led to like me and my brother at young age kind of just wandering off into what was far too much land with BB guns and 22s. And the other common experience was that, man, all the other kids and everybody would shoot birds. So it's kind of a result to access to guns we had, and it's kind of yeah, that's the idea. It's a result of the access of guns we have is the whole easy, simple metaphor. But I wanted it on the ground to elicit the act of mourning. So when you look down at this, you do the same thing. Your head hangs and contemplated in that way. I think performance in that way is like becoming more and more part of my work, either kind of like in social choreography way or in the way that like I want to perform and like have my own like image be part of it. So Pink Nightwear these are like probably my more recent paintings now. I've reduced the scale on them. Originally I was doing larger portraits on plaid surfaces, but I've reduced them in scale, and the plaid has kind of become like a signal to like or at least like a stand-in for like kind of problematic masculinity tropes that I kind of come from, as well as kind of like it's got ties to like my heritage and things like that. But so like the image that's a reference to Pink Nightmare is first like a mimetic internet image. Like, it's actually pretty common, but I've taken that and I've replaced the two boys' faces with mine and my brother's, and then put another mimetic image in the background here, which is Joseph Smith, which is like a religious mimetic icon in the LDS church. And the title is like kind of referring to something like that family members would refer to as like queer people and stuff when they would see them, and they would always lament afterwards how grateful they were that none of their children were gay, but lo and behold, like not to their knowledge kind of stuff, and they'll probably never know to that degree kind of thing. It's like we know their opinion of it, so probably not. And then Untitled Self-Portrait, again, oil on plaid textile. It's kind of self-reflective moment that I felt particularly small and wasn't wanting to occupy the space that I was given. And I was thinking about because I was thinking about reducing the size of like portraits in general because of what I was talking about. Portraits, I feel like, have and kind of like high rendering or like technical stuff or like rendering things well kind of like speaks to a hierarchy in art that makes it easy to idealize things. And with the images I was using, I didn't want to make that big because I didn't want to idealize things. So like I've intentionally reduced the size of the portraits for that reason. But so that was kind of like the result of that. And it was also like the result of like further experimentation. I kind of had these two visual languages with like these paintings on like plaid fabric and things, and then these like really large surfaces with really small images. And I was trying to find a way to like combine them. But so I used an image of myself, which is also something that I'm starting to want to actually use more, is like part of the conversation I'm having is like the parts of this that I've internalized over the years and still I'm like kind of like, you know, it's like everything's a process kind of thing. So, but yeah, so there's that. And then it all kind of culminated at the
Hey,
senior
Reese,
show.
you have
Yeah.
you have like 30 seconds.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so this is kind of like it just all being installed together. Like the frames are kind of like the empty spaces between memories, and they're all kind of rested precariously on a book that was a collaboration between my estranged cousin and I. He ended up being a poet, I ended up being a visual artist, and we collaborated in an art book, and it all kind of rests on that. And the name of the poem was Damn the Family for the Dollar, because that's how we became estranged in the first place. And that's it. I'll end it on a picture of me in a bathtub. So, yep.
Beautiful. Thank you, Reese.
Thanks, Reese.
You can unshare.
Oh.
If, yeah.
There we go.
Great.
That's enough of me in a bathtub.
Yeah, thanks Reese, for showing me your work, and congratulations on your, you know, the culmination of your studies. Yeah, I was thinking a lot about kind of conflict, or, you know, kind of this conflict between remembering and rebellion. And I feel like the conflict between pattern and texture, and thinking about plaid versus flannel and the supports of the textile, and is it just the plaid? I don't know. I think about, like, I guess like duck cotton a lot too, in the form of Carhartt or a vest or something like that, and what this waterproof, what does that look like saturated with water? For some reason I was thinking about that as you're speaking. But yeah, kind of, I really like these pieces with all the space, and I think about it. I know Utah isn't necessarily big sky country, but it's pretty close to, and if you're Lake City, all you see around you is the mountains and the sky, you know, as your whole. So I think like some of these pieces with all this space are so interesting too, and kind of speak to me on the same level as maybe the did in some of these using that as the support, or those particular textiles or that particular patterning as the support for your paintings, and then kind of painting these family kind of portraits on top. And I feel like that's this kind of like the mutually supporting almost. And I think there's something that's really interesting in this kind of space around these portraits, and the space in it's like the space of isolation, but also, you know, the space from where one come. And yeah, I also applaud you, you know, just kind of, you know, doing your own thing, or, you know, doing something that you found was true to you with, you know, the machismo of the Midwest, I guess, for lack of a better word, or, you know, that Yeah, I know how hard it is to, kind of try to explain to one's family or whatever, coming from the Midwest myself, that that you're an artist, or that. So yeah, all of you, so brave. But yeah, I feel like there's this labor component in your work, if that's the slaughterhouse of jungle, or kind of this migration through the grapes of wrath. Yeah, and I think there's something interesting there too. Migration for necessity, maybe not the necessity of life, but the necessity of to live one's life. That I found really interesting in your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Reese. Now we're gonna move on to Enya.
Hello.
Hi, Enya.
Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Enya Fontanills. I'm a painting and drawing major with a minor in social practice and community engagement. My work lays between the line of painting and installation. Although I paint with surreal imagery, my love for the meanings of objects makes my work fill the space with paintings that take the responsibility of existing as daily life items. By allowing the paint to take up time and physical space, it begins to have a relationship with the things around it, a relationship that must have an expiration date. The distance between these objects is ever changing. Although they started together, they may never see each other again, much like my relationship with my family and homeland. My artistic language sits in dialogue between my multiple identities, when the contradictions of homelands due to forced migration causes explorations of contrasting unions such as racial combinations, jointure of Catholic and Yoruba religions, practiced in the same household, or blending cultures of young immigrants. My work is pretty much born. Social cues and issues that come with the recurring theme of multiple identities and split worlds make a relevant appearance in my paintings. My work basically derives from spiritualism, religion, culture, social issues, Cuban diaspora, immigration, and the separations of beings meant to be together. Medias Res is a painting that I made during the beginning of the pandemic. This piece portrays 3 versions of myself in 2 worlds, the foreground being the US and the reflection being Cuba. In the foreground, you can see fires, dead animals, the dead bodies of people who died during COVID being buried in the ground because there was no space in the cemeteries anymore. Meanwhile, on the other side is the landscape of Havana. The first version of myself is the child dressed in the Cuban uniform, blinded by communism. Next to her stands the more mature version of myself, conscious of my ancestors and reaching out to save the third version of myself from the waters of Miami Beach, that at the time were crowded with people even during the pandemic. Against the glass crashes a plane with its destination being Havana from Miami. At the time, all I wanted to do was be with my family, but flight restrictions did not allow for international travel. Checked Baggage is a small painting that was inspired by a conversation with an immigrant friend of mine. We spoke about how easy it was for us to move. We counted how many times each of us had moved. I counted 12 at the age of 20. He counted 15 at the age of 24. We shared the commonality that everything we owned was mobile and disposable because we were always ready to move. This gave me the notion that we were like luggage with legs, and inside us, our entire lives moved with us. In this piece, I started exploring painting objects with meaning, such as a carry-on item. Continuing the same concept of taking our lives with us wherever we go, I painted life onto this luggage. And this is a GIF version of the former piece. I basically added the legs and the organs and made it look like it was moving or living, like a real life object. This is a painting collage using photos and paintings made by myself. Cuba's protector is Our Lady of Charity, also known as La Caridad del Cobre. Yet in the middle of Havana stands a governing dome made of pure gold. Meanwhile, the rest of the city is in ruins and my people are starving. I used the image of Our Lady with sarcasm and replaced her with the gold dome. then portrayed the poverty surrounding her and the three men who are said to have found her in the bottom right corner, actually sailing away from her in search of new lands and opportunities. This piece is a depiction of contrasting worlds. It is half painting and half sculpture. On this side, I painted a house in Cuba with very limited resources. The only thing that is really present is religion, while the little girl sits with her legs wide open on her phone, hoping somebody gets her out of there. On the other side is a little American boy peeking through the window. And then on this unfinished side of the piece, the little boy is in a house that is entirely the opposite of the little girl's. He has a large kitchen with plenty of food, tall fridge, newspapers, and lots of trash. The idea was basically to portray the different types of poverty versus abundance, and like him peeking through and experiencing all of that. This drawing is the beginning of a new sculptural series I'd like to start working on, of luggages with legs and entire cultures within them. This is the continuation of taking your life and your home with you wherever you go. The title translates to, if I go, I'm taking my home with me. This one is a found table that I painted on with acrylic paint of a lonely floating / drowning man in the middle of the ocean. To me, he represents the Americanized immigrant that may have a better economic lifestyle now, but is completely alone and unhappy and forever yearning his return. No te oigo translates to, I cannot hear you. This is a phrase that is often heard from one of a phone call to Cuba. Our communication is limited and the internet is not very advanced. So many times it sounds like the person speaking is underwater. I used an old phone because most things in Cuba are from the 60s, since there has been no import or export since then. And I used the phone to make a water fountain, pretty much. I couldn't get the video going, so I have photos. That was a process video of these pieces. These are the sacred glasses. They're broke glasses with paintings of family members that are oceans apart. In my family's religion, we keep a pedestal of glasses for each person that has died in our family. The spirit is said to feed off the energy of the water, so we refill them every month. Create an homage with living people that are far from each other, using broken glasses to represent the broken connection and fill them up with water. The reunion is a large painting of families reuniting after many years of separation, that they had walked the same oceans and see each other. Something that I have experienced many times at airports in Miami, but families crying and hugging because they're either saying goodbye and don't know when they might see each other again, or they're reuniting after so many years. Mi amigo fiel translates to loyal friend, which is a lyric from a very well-known Cuban children's song. On this found chair, I painted the sky and placed a small paper boat on the edge. The reference is to the song about a child singing to a paper boat, referring to him as his loyal friend, and asking him to take him around the world so he can meet new people, new lands, and be free. He then sings, "No more war, bring more peace. Us children want to be happy and sing." And this is pretty ironic to me, since kids in Cuba have no peace, are pretty malnourished, and do not have freedom to travel. And then I added some inspirations, just a very little of them because I have a lot. These Cuban artists express their roots and experiences in creative ways, using past, present, and future, sharing our history and our pending social issues and our ability to create. Art is the Cubans' only form of capturing our story and reality, since our freedom to express ourselves is censored. So every day I'm inspired by artists like these: Ariel Cabrera Montejo, John Capote, and Los Carpinteros. And with that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Enya. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Enya. Yeah, I was just really moved looking at your work. I found like some like kind of continuous threads throughout like this the idea of water and the idea of the airplane or seeing things from above, and even a lot of the orientations of the pieces where it's, if I was looking at them from above, and some of the scales even seem to be, you know, like lifted uh in a way. I found that like that your art, I guess on first glance for this presentation, doesn't seem to be overtly political, but it's more and kind of this separation between place or, you know, family, friends, the things that separate us. So that's why like these suitcases became like really interesting when I was looking at them, especially the ones going through the TSA type thing, because it's like, so it's like this enclosed suitcase with legs, but I see it going through the X-ray machine. It's like a certain vulnerability, like I'm here with everything. This is what I have, that I found pretty profound. And yeah, I just it almost seems like where travel or migration, after it happens so many times, becomes this very mechanical, you know, thing that's just like point A to point B, and then it's not so much about the harrowing journey per se. It's more seems to be about the distance and the difference of place and one's experiences within that place. Yeah, I feel like I feel like sometimes people, you know, they make art and they hit you over the head with like, you know, these things, but I feel like there's like this kind of um space for possibility within your art, where, you know, where anybody can kind of insert like that. I don't need to necessarily be uh come from Havana or somewhere, or, you know, but I can see like I can insert kind of my own separation within that, and I think that's a powerful thing, and it's like a universal thing. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dad.
Really great work, Enya. And I want to just say congratulations to all of you. It was so great seeing all of your work. And I want to, just for the last couple minutes, invite anyone else to speak up. And to, if you have any responses or things that you want to add to the conversation, please do now. And before that, I just want to remind everyone that next week, Carla's class on Thursday, what is that, May 4th, is going to be the solo studios in the painting studios from 1:30 to 3, and everyone's invited. And I know all of you guys are going to participate, so I just want to remind everyone of that. I'm
Great.
so
Yeah,
proud of all of you.
if folks can hang their work on Monday so that the work is up for folks who can't come during that opening event, that would be awesome. And congrats, everyone. I love these presentations. I'm just so impressed by all of you. So articulate and just, yeah, really, really impressive.
Yeah, I just want to say that it's been an honor working with pretty much everyone on this list today. And just the depth of where you guys have gone with your work. Your personal voices are so strong and your presentations were fantastic. I really am looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to be doing for the future. Thanks, Gregory, for coming here and, you know, giving your reflections. It's an honor to have you back as our star student.
Yeah.
You know, I know you've been busy with lots of shows and everything, but yeah, you guys did
I'm super impressed. It's almost like I'm seeing you guys for the first time. Very well delivered. You know, I've had many conversations with you guys, but you've galvanized your focus and delivered very cogent subject matter about what you're up to. And I'm very excited. You guys got a lot out of this program. So thank you so much.
Well, I'm not sure if anyone could see hands up. I had my hand
Oh,
raised.
you have your hand up. Go, yeah.
Yeah, so
Chime in,
hi,
yeah.
I'm Lou, and I hail from Boston, Massachusetts. And, you know, I've heard about your program and everything from my brother Gray. And I just want to applaud the faculty first and foremost for guiding this incredibly gifted group of students along. But secondly, I just want to say that I am really moved by the authenticity and honesty with which you all came today. It just like speaks volumes of courage to put it out there the way you did. I mean, I've always made jokes about how when we show our work, we get naked in front of the masses, and yet you did so willingly and really professionally today. I thought it was a wonderful group of presentations, and yeah, I wish that all my students back here in Boston had seen them. So congratulations to all of you. And thanks for having people from outside come in.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh wait, is that right?
Yeah,
I just want to know what, huh?
Yeah, speak
Am
up.
Oh, sorry. Well, I'm just stating this publicly because I hope the presenters this week that are in our course know how I feel. But I will reiterate what I said 2 weeks ago. This is a very, very special class of individuals, and every day I'm just even in the presentations just really sort of blown away, and just really, you know, I'm just grateful to have been here for the semester. So and you know, all of you are going to be just fine because you have very sincere relationships with your work, and it doesn't happen in the amount of the like through and through. I said it last time, I've never seen it before with any class that I've worked with. I don't know where you guys, like with the actual permanent faculty, you have this amazing experience of kind of seeing them beginning to end, but I couldn't be happier for this whole class to go out into the world and bring themselves into the world, and it just makes me happy and hopeful. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone. See you all soon for the solo shows.
Yeah. Also, the
Bye,
senior show is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.